Man, I love the Pokemon series, but there's some things in the games that just make me so angry and upset.
Do you have pent-up frustrations about the Pokemon series that you really hope don't make an appearance in the next Pokemon game?
Yeah?
You can vent your frustrations in the form of a top 10 video.
You're right, I can do that. Oh, but they shut Vine down.
Do it on YouTube.
Oh, YouTube, right? Yes, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna go and make a top 10 video, and my PC is right here. So actually, I'm gonna go sit right back down here. What's going on, everyone? My name's Patterrz, and welcome to the top 10 things that I don't want to see in the Pokemon Switch game, the next Pokemon game that will be released. Now, as of recording this, the Switch game, the title has not been announced, and we don't know anything about the game, which means that anything is up in the air and anything could happen. Now, of course, this is a top 10 and this is entirely opinion-based. So if you have a differing opinion, that's completely fine. As long as you respect my opinion, I'll respect yours as well. There's some controversial opinions in this video that we'll get to. Actually, right off the bat at number 10. But that's fine. We don't need to get super mad about what someone thinks over the internet. It's not worth the time, trust me. But without further ado, let's get into the list. So the first entry on the list pertains more to what the game will actually be rather than a specific feature. First and foremost, I don't want the new Switch game to be a remake, a remaster, or any kind of retelling or redoing of a previous Pokemon game. I want it to be an entirely new experience. And the Pokemon community here has this real attachment to remakes or remasters or anything like that. They love them. And it's something that honestly I'm not a super big fan of. Like, I mean, it's nice to be able to revisit a game that you played when you were a child in huge, better graphics. Like, it's okay, but personally, in my opinion, I believe that playing an entirely new game, a new experience, is better than having a remake. Take Diamond and Pearl, for example, which is the next upcoming, essentially one that should be next because we just had RS and the next remake would be Diamond and Pearl. I would much prefer to have a new game to a Diamond and Pearl remake. And on top of that, if they were going to do Sinnoh again, I would much prefer to see a Platinum 2 or a Diamond and Pearl 2 over a straight Diamond and Pearl remake, because we've already played those games before. I already know the layout of the region. I know I've seen everything there is to see in that, and while they can add new things like they did in ORAS with the Delta episode and as they usually do in remakes, I would rather have an entirely new story than something that I've already played before. A lot of people just want to have a remake, and that's fine if you do, just I don't. The next thing that I hope that we can avoid as we head on to the Pokemon Switch game is a return to HMs being required to complete the game. The quality of life improvements that we had in Generation 7, mainly pertaining to the Poké Ride feature, was great. It was wonderful. No more Rock Smash, no more Fly, no more Surf, no more anything like that. You don't need them. The region and the game was built around having these Poké Ride features that I loved. I think they were great. No more Item Finder. You have a Stoutland for that. I honestly love that. That's one of the main things about Generation 7 that makes me look at that and be like, this is a better game to play feature-wise than a lot of the older generation games, because it doesn't force you to have certain moves in your moveset just to progress through the game. So I'm really hoping is that Game Freak has seen that. Game Freak has seen the positive reaction that people had to the Poké Ride feature and the lack of required HMs, and they say, you know what? That's something that we want to keep. Because if we have HMs back again and we have forced moves, that really just lowers the diversity of the moves that you can have. It lowers the diversity of the Pokemon that you can have, because you have to have a flying type. You have to have something that can serve. You have to have this. You have to have that, because if you don't, then you can't finish the game, and that forces people to either use certain Pokemon that they may otherwise not use because they want to use different ones, or they forces them to have HM slaves in the game. And I know that Game Freak doesn't like HM slaves because they banned the word slave, and I'm sure they know that it's a very common thing to use in the older games. Number 8 on the list is I don't want to see them handle the mythicals the way that they've handled them in every other generation in the past. I know this is more of a pipe dream, and I know Game Freak's gonna continue to do what they've been doing for years and years and years and years and years, but event legendaries, or mythical Pokemon as they're now called, have just been handled incredibly badly, in my opinion. I don't think that there should be any Pokemon that is restricted to, oh, download it with this download code once. That's so boring. That's so non-gamey. What you could do with these event Pokemon, with Zeraora, with Marshadow, you could have like a special side quest in the game. I believe they used to do these in the past, but you had to go to an event to download the quest, which isn't great because most people can't access these events. But you could have this huge quest in which you encounter the Pokemon and there's some issue that you have to resolve, and at the end of it, you're closer with this Pokemon, you can add it to your team. But no, what Game Freak likes to do, what Nintendo likes to do for some reason is, the local game store can pay us a bunch of money and we'll just let you get it from there. Just go to your local game store, just download it, whatever. That's how you get your legendary. That is such an unfun, an ungame-like way to get a Pokemon that is not accessible through normal play. It's just a huge disappointment every time the new generation rolls around and you're like, wow, this thing is really cool. I wonder how we get, oh, you download it. Okay, yeah, great. I just walked to a shop and down, okay.
I can't believe you've done this.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Number 7 is another point pertaining to the entire game rather than a specific feature, that I don't want to see a rushed game. And I know everyone's the same, like, oh, I hope Game Freak really takes their time with this, but when it comes to actually having a business and trying to push Switch sales and trying to make a lot of money, which Nintendo is a business and it does want to make a lot of money. Thankfully, no, Nintendo is a business that has a good track record of releasing very, very high quality games. I don't want to see a rushed game. There's a lot of debate on whether the game will be released in 2018 and 2019. And as I'm recording this, we don't know yet. There hasn't been a full announcement on that yet. Honestly, whether it's released in 2018, 2019, or 2020, God forbid, which I hope not, but it's possible, I suppose. I hope they really take their time with it and put as much effort in as they can to make it a truly special adventure, because they have the resources, they have the people, they have a lot of wonderful people working on the games, and they don't need to push it out just to get more Switch sales early on, because if the game flops, if the game is a disappointment, and if Pokemon fans decide that, hey, this isn't for me, that could be a huge hit to the Pokemon series as a whole. We have a lot of Pokemon fans out of Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon saying, hey, I just don't want to finish this game. It's just boring to me. Now, while I found Sun and Moon to be good games, they really have to be careful with this one to ensure that they can hit that point with the fans that'll bring them back and make them excited for Pokemon again, because there's a lot of people that are kind of edging away from the series, and the Switch game has a lot of potential to bring new people in and also bring the fans that were kind of disconnected to the franchise. They have a chance to bring a lot of them back as well. The next point I want to make here is something that Game Freak has been kind of on and off being good with a lot. I'm a huge fan of RPGs. I play RPGs a lot. It's one of my go-to genres for any kind of game that I want to play. And side quests, I believe, are incredibly important to RPGs. A quest in which it does not connect to the main story that you can just go off and do to have a break and have some other kind of adventure. Those are very important to RPGs in my opinion, and honestly, Pokemon hasn't been amazing with RPG, or with side quests as the series went on. Now, I will say that Ultra Sun and Moon and Sun and Moon in general had some pretty good ones. They were kind of hard to access sometimes, and they didn't really poke their heads out, and you had to like really search for them, which, you know, depending on who you talk to is either good or bad. But I would love to see more side quests. I don't want to see like a straight up main story slog through. You go through the regions, you get the gem badges or whatever it is you're supposed to collect, you go to the end. I don't want to see that. I want to see a wide variety of fleshed out side quests that you can access whenever you maybe hit a new town, hit a certain point in levels, when your Pokemon become powerful enough, something like that. There's a lot of potential you could do with Pokemon side quests. For example, the fan game Infinite Fusion, every time you hit a new town, you go into a certain building, and there's some people there like, hey, can you do this for me? I will give you this. Or there's this happening. Can you go and sort this out, please, for me? I would really appreciate it. I can give you this item. I can give you money. I can give you maybe a Pokemon. Something like that. There's so much potential, and I really hope that they tap into that and don't just leave it as a main story slog and nothing else. All right, number 5, I don't want to see any boring rivals in this game. Now, this is something that Sun and Moon hit on pretty well with Gladion. I think that Gladion was a really good rival. How is okay, I suppose, but I don't want to see a return to any kind of boring X and Y style rivals, or even May. May, in my opinion, was a bad rival. A good rival is someone that could potentially be like kind of a dick to you, like Silver or Blue is. It doesn't have to be. Like, I think Barry was also a good rival. A rival is someone that should push you to be better and should be a challenging fight whenever you see them. Not something that just appears a recurring character every now and then. that pops up and then disappears, and then you're like, okay, throw it in the back of my mind. You don't really think about that. A rival is something you should be constantly thinking about, like, are they better than me? What's their Pokemon levels like? Like, where are they right now? What are they doing? Like, I thought one of the really cool features, one of the really subtle features that they had in the original Pokemon games, and what they had in a lot of the Pokemon games, is that once you hit a gym and you go into the gym for the first time, you look at the statue that has the names of the winners and notable winners. Their rival has already beaten you there. I thought that was a really cool subtle feature they have in the Pokemon games, and it kind of like, it hits you. It's like, oh, they're already better than me. They're doing well. Like, I'm not the only good trainer in this region. And I hope they have some really good rivals in the next Pokemon game. No boring ones, and if necessary, no friendly ones. You know, go back to Silver, Blue, whatever. Those are the more interesting rivals, in my opinion, and I hope that they have more of those. One of the most frustrating parts about playing a Pokemon game is that, for some reason, they have never implemented skippable cutscenes.
Come on, I just started the game. I mean, okay, at least I get to choose my own stars. Come on, I've only had my star for 2 minutes. Let me play with All right, now Hal gets a star. Fine, whatever. What is this, Nebby? Come on, man.
I don't want to see more unskippable cutscenes in the next Pokemon game, because, I mean, I'm the type of person that's gonna play through a Pokemon game at least a few times, you know, either on my own or on the YouTube channel, and every time I hit a cutscene I've already seen, I literally just start talking about something completely different, because it's something that I've already seen, and I'm assuming that once they're watching a playthrough on my channel, the person watching the cutscene has already seen it as well, at least past the initial playthrough. Once it's an initial playthrough, great, I'll watch everything, but past that, I just wish I could save myself some time and skip those cutscenes that obviously take way too long to roll through and just waste a lot of people's time. Please don't have unskippable cutscenes. I don't want to see any of that. Here at number 3, we have one of the biggest complaints that people had for Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon. Guys, let's not have that 10-hour tutorial that we had at the beginning of Sun and Moon. Let's just take that, put it in the recycling bin, empty the recycling bin, delete the recycling bin, take the computer, throw it out, buy a new one, and make sure that we never ever see it again. Please. There is no need for such a long tutorial, considering how many people are Pokemon players that have already played a game before. How many of those players do you think are actually new to the series? And if someone is even new to the series, how long of a tutorial do you think that they need? And this ties in with the unskippable cutscenes part. When you play the tutorial, they teach you how to play the game all over again, which, okay, that'd be great. I already know how to play the game. Can I just go now? Can I just go? I don't need to be taught how to throw a Pokeball. I don't need to be taught the type weaknesses and advantages. I don't need to be taught what an antidote does every single time I restart, because I already know this stuff, and I've been playing Pokemon for 20 years. Not everyone has. That's fine. Have a tutorial for people who need it, but for everyone else, just let them bypass it. Just go straight past. Now, number 2 is something very important for me. I don't want to see any shiny locks at all. Just get rid of all shiny locks. Just take them, just remove them from every single Pokemon, and we'll be good, Game Freak. Just let me shiny hunt every single Pokemon that I want to shiny hunt for. I don't know why they implemented them in the first place. They have their reasoning, which was they wanted the legendaries and such to feel special, I guess, and then they wanted some exclusive shinies that they could release in some kind of event, which is what they did for Zygarde. They seriously shiny locked Zygarde in the game so you couldn't hunt for it ever, and apparently the more special way of getting a shiny is to download it from the internet. I don't see how that works, but sure, Game Freak, okay. But seriously, I love shiny hunting. I do it pretty much every single day on my Twitch channel, which the link is in the description if you want to follow. But I don't think that any Pokemon should be shiny locked. I think that anything should be available and accessible for those who really want to sit there and put in the time and effort to try and get them. I think that hunting for a shiny yourself is way more special if you sit there and you put in the time, or even if you just get it randomly. If the first time you go up to battle the big legendary, the big bad of the game, if it turns out to be shiny, that's something you're gonna remember for the rest of your life, is basically that one time where the legendary of the game, the first time you fought it, it was a shiny and you caught it with a Master Ball and you've kept it ever since. That's way more special, Game Freak, than downloading something from the internet. I mean, I might be the only one who thinks this, but I don't think I am the only one who thinks this. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. I'd really love to hear about it. And we have finally arrived at number 1. And number 1 is going to be my most controversial opinion of all, so if you just disagree with me, just chill out, it's okay, just don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal if you do disagree with me. That's totally fine. I don't want to see a game with all of the regions. I don't want to see a game with all of the regions. What? Can't say that. I want that. I want a game with all the, I want a game with all the regions. Oh, I'm so mad. I'm gonna tell him how mad I am. I want a game with all the regions, you dick. Now, hear me out for a second here. Let me explain why I don't want to see this. I see a lot of people online on the internet saying, I wish they would make a Pokemon game that has all of the regions in. I kind of think that that's a little bit of a idealistic way to look at things. I don't think that they should make or even try and make a game that has all the regions in, mainly because of a lot of kind of businessy stuff in terms of development time, budget, and the quality of the overall game. For example, a normal Pokemon game development cycle might take between 2, 3, maybe 4 years, and we get, you know, your X and Ys, your Auras, your Sun and Moons, and such like that. The Ultra Sun and Moons, the third games, the remakes, they probably take less time to make because they already have the base there, they know what they're doing. But for a new game, the start of a new generation, it's most likely going to be around 2 to 3 years to create. Now imagine if instead of having the one region that we usually get, and in special exceptions for Generation 2, the 2 regions, one of them what we already had, they had every single region. So now, instead of just making one region that they can flesh out the story in and really go in depth with placing things and creating a world that feels like a fun region to play in, they now have to create every single region in their new engine or whatever they're working in. Now, granted, it would be, I guess, easier because they already have the layout for most of the regions completed and they have it there. But imagine how long that would take to create the game. What would it result in is essentially either a game that is very, very basic, not in depth at all. You could run through a region, it might have random encounters, there'd probably be less people to talk to, there'd be less things to do. There would be just less depth to everything that you see in the game, and that would be it. There wouldn't be cool side quests, there wouldn't be cool events, because they just wouldn't have the time for that. And let's say, okay, let's make a Pokemon game that's as in-depth as every other single Pokemon game with every region in it. Well, first off, you have to think about level scaling. How is the level scaling gonna work in this game? Is it going to be one singular level scale as you go through? So is the first Elite Four gonna be like level 30s? Are you gonna start again at every new region? At the end of the region, you get to your level 50s or stuff, you go to the new region, you start the entire game again. If you start the entire game again, then what's the point of having everything in one singular game? If you start your entire team again, it doesn't really feel like you're making progression through the regions, it just feels like you're playing a different game. It doesn't really feel like you're playing the same game, so I feel like that would take a lot of the draw to that away from that. So that wouldn't be a very good idea, in my opinion. It just seems that a lot of the people who say, I wish they would make a game with all the regions in, they think that it would take the same amount of time and money and effort to develop a normal game, when it wouldn't. It would take a lot more. And if they wanted to make a huge, in-depth, every region game, the development time would be insane. It would probably be between 5 to 10 years. We wouldn't see a Pokemon game for a very, very long time. And who's to say that this game that came out would be better than any other game that they could have released in that time frame, at a shorter time frame that's more in depth because they had less space overall to work in. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I hope that I got that across correctly. Like I said, if you feel different to me, that's completely fine. You can explain your ideas in the comment section below. And we'd all be respectful and happy and fun and great to each other, right? It's just like in every other YouTube comment section. But thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time.